Hey guys, I want to welcome you back to Covenant Podcast. I had an idea a couple months ago, and Ryan's helping me to accomplish it. Is to get some coaches, some local coaches, together and have a conversation one on one with what they do, how they do it, the influence that they have on kids beyond the court or the field, whatever sport it is. And today is my first one. I got my bud Nick Bazzle. Nick and I have known each other. I don't know if you know this or not, but I remember you all the way back when you were 13 years old. You played.
Wow.
You were playing at East Lincoln.
I don't remember back that far.
Well, the reason I remember it is because it's the first year that East Lincoln and Lincolnton, when you were in 8th grade, played for the Tri-County Championship. And the reason I know that is because my brother is actually your age. And then we had some mutual guys. We'll give them a little shout out. One of his best friends was Darren Cloninger.
Yep.
One of my best friends was Michael Cloninger. And Michael and I didn't play on the same team. We played against each other, but Nick and Darren were like that. And
still that way.
Still that way.
Still that way today.
I still keep up with Michael to this day. And so we had a mutual family. Those boys went to my dad's church. I don't know if you knew that or not when I was a kid.
Was that the little small church?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
You've
I
been
remember
there before.
that. And Millie went there.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's right.
Sure
and
did.
So, anyway, so we had this mutual contact, and we kind of kept it over the years, and just followed your career playing ball in high school and in college. And now he's back in Lincoln County after a stint over at Newton, Conover for a while, and Alexander Central. He's been back at North Lincoln for a few years, and so I just want to welcome you and tell you thanks for coming to join us today.
Hey, look, it's always good to visit with old friends and hang out and talk. Yeah, see, there you go. We was just talking about this a minute ago, and I hit the big 6-0 now, so I guess I can call myself
He hit the big 6-0.
He's still behind me.
Yeah, but I want you to tell me a little bit. I remember one of the things that was I thought was pretty neat. You getting to coach your boys in football. What are they doing now?
Well, they're AJ is actually the youngest one. I coached both of them, but AJ was my youngest son, and he's right now sales manager at Cloninger Ford.
Oh yeah,
so he's making more money than me and his mama both. Okay, so
good job, AJ.
And he, we thought maybe he would end up going into coaching, but he knew what the financial situation was with a teacher and coach, so he figured that out.
Yeah.
But poor old Matt, he went that way. And I say that jokingly, but no, he's now the offensive coordinator at Alexander Central. He was with me when I was at Newton, right when he got out of school in 2009. And when I left in 2012 and took the job at Alexander, he decided to come with me. And so then I retired there after 32 and a half years in it. And he stayed on, and now he's working with Butch Carter. Actually, probably the best move he ever made was to stay there with Butch, because
he's good.
Yeah, he's really good. He's good. Great guy, great coach, good with kids. And but he got to see things from a different perspective, because he had only played for me and he'd only coached for me. So now he got to see how somebody else did it.
All right. That's
and
good
he can,
for him.
and he can take what he learned from me, of course, and then what he's learned from Butch, and he can put it all together. He's wanting to be a head coach pretty soon.
That's cool.
So we hope he gets that chance.
Yeah, he will. Yeah. He will. He's got it in his blood, brother.
Yeah.
And then you need to talk a little bit about the glue that actually holds all you boys together. Your sweet wife.
Yeah. She's I tell you,
like a preacher's wife a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, if you're, exactly.
Yeah.
Because, to be a coach's wife, you got to sacrifice everything.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, it's funny you say that, because Matt, he and my mother, which is his grandmother, was in the car together. And they were all riding over Christmas, and they were going to see my AJ just moved to Lincoln County, which is great. He's 7 minutes from my house.
Cool.
So we're close by now, and hopefully I get some grandkids one of these days before I'm too old to play with them.
Yeah.
But anyway, getting back to what I was saying, they were in the car, and Matt said, Mamaw, he said, the two strongest women I know in my life are you and my mom.
That's pretty cool.
And my mom's 85 and
I thought she's 25.
Yeah. And Mike, she drives from Holden Beach. That's where she lives. Every week she drives from Holden Beach to North Carolina on Wednesday, spends a night, watches JV game on Thursday, varsity game on Friday, turns around, drives all the way back. She's getting ready to turn 86. And she's in good health. She's done beat cancer. And, so, you wouldn't know it. You wouldn't even know she's that age, but she's a strong woman. She's where I got all my
Resolve.
good things, from her. But going back to Kim, golly Pete, she's battling cancer right now.
Yeah.
And battling it mentally and doing really well with it. But now she's developed a back issue with some compression fractures in her T11 vertebrae, and that's got her, she's not bedridden or anything like that, but she just keeps pushing through it,
Yeah.
And then on top of that, she's, I gave her COVID of all things, so she's had that for about 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
Can't get a positive test to get anything done with her back.
Wow.
So as soon as that, she's going through a lot right now, but she's hanging in there and she is really strong. And so I was blessed to meet her.
Yeah, you are.
Yep.
She's a good one. I remember when you guys got married, lived out there off of 150.
Yeah.
You just, I knew you hit the jackpot with her, and I saw it in your eyes when you talked about her. But I had the pleasure of talking about, first off, we need to, all you guys that watch this, just be praying for Kim. She would really appreciate that very much.
Sure,
and
really.
She's a woman of faith as well. But I had the pleasure of seeing your mom. I hadn't seen her since I was a little kid. My boy got inducted into the Lincoln County Sports Hall of Fame a couple months ago, and I was actually there with another guy that was getting inducted that I had coached, and got to see your mama and all of the way you talked about her being at every game. Only missed one game in his whole lifetime, counting high school and college and coaching. And the only game she missed, what happened?
Well, it was against Lincoln of all people. So I was a 7th grader, Mike, okay, on a 7th and 8th grade team. And at that time, I thought I could run through a wall and it wouldn't hit back. It's just one,
Yeah, you did have a little bit of a hard head.
Yeah. And so I'm running down the kickoff team fast as I can. And I see this great old big guy. I don't even know who it was, but he was 3 times my size. I said, I'm going to run right through him. And I hit that joker. And as soon as I did, every ounce of air left my body and I hit the ground. And when you get the breath knocked out of you, coach always come out there and grab you by your belt buckle and pull you up until you breathe again.
Yeah.
I could not get any air in. It didn't matter how hard I fought, and I just couldn't get it. They finally, I think it actually collapsed a lung and did for momentarily, and didn't know it. But they, because they were so worried about it, they took me to the hospital, to the emergency room, and they called my mom, and she came flying over there. And, as a parent, if you weren't at your son's game,
it's your fault they got hurt.
Yeah, that's right. And she automatically, and she just said, on the way home, she said, don't you worry, I will never miss another game.
Yeah.
And Mike, I went all the way through the rest of that junior high career, because at that time we were East Lincoln Junior High all the way through high school, then went off to Guilford and played there for 4 years. And we traveled all the way up and down the East Coast, from Pennsylvania to Maryland to Tennessee, Virginia. And every Saturday from my freshman year to my senior year, she was in them stands.
Absolutely.
And so, I've been blessed to have a mom like that.
Amen.
That's and
she'll be glad we gave her a shout out too when she watches this.
Yeah.
But that brings me kind of to one of the main reason that you're here. Besides knowing you personally and just loving you as a brother and as a friend for many, many years, watched you on the field. I still help with Lincolnton. I don't do any coaching anymore, but I'm the chaplain, and we get to pray together after games and hang out together some during the season. But I watched you from a distance when you were at Alexander and at Newton, and I've watched you influence your kids and how. I mean, I see pictures of you on Facebook because we're friends on Facebook. Going to games of kids that you coached years ago, and keeping up with kids, going to weddings of kids that you coached.
Yeah.
Tell me about the joy of, first off, who influenced you, and you, because I've always been a firm believer that coaches have such a sphere of influence that they don't even know they have. And then, is that intentional on your part? I mean, when did you decide, or how do you integrate connecting with kids beyond the field?
Well, honestly, Mike, I count myself fortunate because, a lot of kids these days will go into college and not know what they want to do till they're in their sophomore year.
Right.
Okay. Well, I can honestly tell you, when I was in the 6th grade, I knew what I wanted to do.
Wow.
Okay. When you're young and, that young, you always think, well, I'm going to be able to play on Sundays.
Yeah, you're going to be in the NFL.
Oh, yeah. And I'm going to grow up to be 6 foot whatever and weigh 200 and whatever and run this 40 time. And you have these great, big, huge dreams. But I also knew if I can't play it, I want to be a coach. My coaches were my role models growing up. My dad was gone when I was 5 years old, so my mother raised me. But all my coaches were the male figures in my life.
Right.
And honestly, I thought every coach I had, and I can name them too, all the way back. I think I even did that at that Hall of Fame thing. But no matter how much they knew or didn't know, I thought they were experts.
Yeah.
And my goal for me, all I ever wanted to do was please them,
Right.
So that drove me.
So you were a coach's dream anyways.
Well, I don't know about that, but because I would make mistakes like everybody else. But the one thing I tried never to do was to make an effort mistake.
Right.
I always wanted them to be proud of my effort that I gave, not necessarily how well I performed, but I just didn't want to be looked at like one that was lazy or loafing or wouldn't do things. And so those guys, all the coaches that I had all the way through elementary school, all the way through college, were huge in developing what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that's why I went the route I went.
Yeah.
The one coach Coach Bolick at East Lincoln was probably an
amazing man.
Yeah. And I just really thought he was, I watched him work and watched him study the game, and he was always prepared. And, I just wanted to do what he did. And once I got out of college, I got lucky enough to coach with him for a year at East. That was my first job, was back at East for 2 years. And then I got the call that made and honestly, Mike, that was a God thing.
Yeah.
He opened that door for me, the smartest decision ever made, the toughest one, to leave my alma mater.
Yeah.
But the smartest decision I ever made was to go to Newton Conover for Coach Patrick. And
another good man.
Yeah. And that's where I learned not just X's and O's. That was probably the least that I learned when I was there, but just how to treat people, how to handle kids, how to
love them.
Love on them, have a community, and get community support. It was more the social aspect of coaching that I learned from him more than anything. But, and he's known throughout this state for sure.
Absolutely.
And the country for that matter. He was National Coach of the Year at one time. But anyway, I learned how to be a coach, not how to coach a football team, how to be a coach from him.
That's cool.
And so that's where it all started for me. And, but through this whole journey of my, 1984 was my first coaching job, and I've been playing sports since I was 7. But through this whole journey, I just, without a doubt, God said He knew us before we were born, while we were formed in the womb. You know, and so I believe that I was born to the mother that I was supposed to be born to.
Absolutely.
And I was put into the path that I was put into by Him. And I was called. Coaching's a calling. Okay.
Yeah,
it's not a career.
Yeah.
And so I've just tried to follow His lead the whole time through. And I look at it as a mission field too, as well,
Absolutely.
because you're influencing the lives of kids. You're not just teaching them how to play a game.
That's right.
And so, I was influenced. My life was influenced.
Right.
I know I'm getting long-winded here, but
keep going. That's why you're here.
Okay. So one time when I was at Guilford, one of my professors, I was in an educational psychology class, and she was asking every student in the room, why are you choosing to go into teaching? And some of my teammates were in there, were going into coaching also. And she said, teaching or coaching. And I said, and she asked me that question. And I said, what it did for me when I was playing, I want to be able to offer that to every other player that I have. Some may not even ever want to play a day of college football.
Right.
And I did.
Yeah.
But I told her, I said, I want to offer them the same opportunity that I had. And I want them to be able to get out of athletics what I got out of it.
Man,
and so that was, honestly, that's it.
Yeah.
I wasn't worried about money. I said, well, if I don't get paid much, I'll marry a woman that can work too. And lo and behold, I married one that made twice out what I make. So there, I got blessed there too,
Right.
So,
That's
but
good.
anyway, it's just, if I had it to do all over, I'd do it all over again. Same way.
That's absolutely awesome. That's good. They say if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. So what you're saying is you've never had to work in your whole lifetime.
Nope.
Yeah.
It's been that way. You get up every morning. Now, there's stresses with every job.
Right.
It's not going to be perfect every year. But, but I can get up every day and go to work knowing that I'm going to get to work out with kids in the weight room or work them out. Then I get to go play football.
Yeah.
For 2.5 hours a day.
Yeah.
And so it's,
and being them young people keep you younger.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, like I retired and from AC.
That lasted about a week.
It was 2.5 years, and I was absolutely miserable.
Yeah.
Okay. Now
Robbie Wilkinson, who I know and was
Yep.
Alexander helping with softball back then. I ran into him at a camp when you were retired, and I said, "How's Nick doing?" He said, He's bored to death.
He was exactly right. But I lived up on a mountaintop, just, in Alexander County, less than a mile from the Wilkes County line.
I know exactly where you live.
Yeah. And I had all the deer and turkey and everything else I wanted to hunt, but trying to manage that acreage, I worked myself to death, Mike, really. And so I was just dead tired every day. But the one thing that drove me back into coaching was the relationships that I was missing out on. I felt isolated, and all my friends are my assistant coaches.
Yeah.
And so they were still working because they were younger than me. So I'm living up on top of the mountain. They still having
You're
games
sitting in
on
a tree stand thinking about coaching.
That's right. That's right. And even if you like hunting with somebody.
Yeah.
But true. I was doing it all by myself, so I didn't get to show anybody.
You didn't get to brag.
I know. I didn't get to show them my turkey or my deer unless I took a picture of it. So it was just the lonesomeness, the isolation was awful. And so, I had gone through some tough times, and I read some Charles Stanley books on, how to listen to God. And, I'm like, Lord, I'm in my 50s. I know you're not ready to put me out to pasture yet. I know there's got to be something else, and lo and behold, I got through cutting the grass one day, and I was sitting, that's about 3:00 in the afternoon. And I was sitting up in a chair out on the mountain drinking some iced tea, and I get a phone call from Mark Lackey, and he says, I know you're not doing anything. He said, get down here and coach some football. We need a football coach. Well, when I was at Newton, he had called me several times when they had some openings, and had some coaching changes. And we were always friends anyway, because we coached together early. But I told him, I said, well, Lack, I don't really have a reason to tell you no now.
Yeah.
And so
don't have a job.
No. And then Kim comes home, and I said, well, let me think about it. So Kim comes home, she gets home about 6:30, and she comes in, and I said, Kim, I got a call today you might be interested in. She said, from who? I said, Mark Lackey. She said, what he want? He won't give you another job. And I said, well, matter of fact, he did, And I was expecting her to say, we can't do that. You'd have to drive an hour down, an hour back. It's just too far. And honestly, Mike, I was prepared for that. You just need to think about something else.
Right.
Well, you want to ride down there and see the school? Right off the bat, you want to ride down there and see the school? We'll go down there and eat supper somewhere.
Yeah.
I said,
translation, you were driving her crazy too.
I guess so. That's right. Yeah. So long story short, we get in the car, we go down, and that woman sat in the car. Lackey asked me to come into school and talk to him because they had a baseball game going on. When he found out I was there, she sat out in the car for about 3 hours while me and him sat in there and talked about that job. And when I came out, she was just smiling just like she was when. And so it ended up happening, and actually she was ready to get off that mountain too, because it's a long drive to Newton.
Yeah.
And
well, I'm glad you came. I'm as a guy, even though obviously the Lincolnton, West Lincoln, East Lincoln, you're not at either one of the schools that I went to, but I'm glad you're back in this county because of the man that you are. I was thinking while you were talking, I want to give both of them an extra shout out. When at the Hall of Fame thing, I saw Coach Patrick with you, and I just thought what a cool thing that guy would follow you around, and Coach Bullock as well. Their support to you is amazing, and I always think it's cool that those guys are so real. Like when I spoke to Coach Patrick that night, he spoke to me like normal, even though he hadn't seen me in a couple of years. And a story on Coach Bullock. How old is Coach Bullock? We're not, do you know how old he is now?
Him and Coach Patrick are about the same. I'd say probably mid-70s, getting close to mid-70s.
He still coaches to this day.
Yep.
Coaches Denver Legion team. My little grandson was with me at Cherryville in Denver. We were playing last summer. And my little grandson was with me, and I said, I want to take you to let you meet a good man. And he said, where is he? I said, he's coaching on that other team over there. I said, let's walk around the back of the fence. I want to introduce you to Coach Bullock. And I was hoping he'd remember me because, I see him here and there. And I've known him since I was in high school because of Michael and I were good friends and all that stuff, like we mentioned. But I walked around the corner and I said, Coach Bullock, he said, hey, Mike. He said, how's the church?
Oh, wow.
And I thought, what a cool thing. And my grandson got to meet him, and he talked to him for about 5 minutes, made him feel real good about himself, and he went back to coaching his team. But I thought, man, what an impressive guy, that after all these many years, he still knows what I'm doing.
Yep.
And I didn't play for him.
Yep, that's right.
I played against him a lot, played against him in 2 championships, I think, when I was in high school baseball. But for him to remember or that I was working at a church and asked me about how's the church going, I thought it was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, Butch, obviously those guys had an impact on you, but what effect do you think it had? I know this is personal. I didn't tell you I was going to ask you this. of your dad not being there after you were 5 and you having a realization, maybe an intentional realization that you are a dad to a lot of those kids, that you get to coach.
Well, to be honest with you, not having a dad will make you be a better dad.
Yeah.
Because, and for me, I don't know how I grew up knowing that, but all I ever wanted to do was have a family.
Yeah.
I wanted to get married and have a family. I wanted to be a dad because I wanted to give my kids what I missed out on. I wanted to do what I wished I would have had.
Right.
Yeah. And so I tried my best to do it that way. And Mike, I know that every young man that I coach doesn't come from a 2-parent family.
Right.
They some of them don't even come from a parent family.
Right.
And so because I knew how important my coaches were to me,
right,
that I always have to keep it in the front of my mind, even when I'm so intense on getting a blocking scheme right or whatever.
Calling the right play at the right time.
Yes, I have to remember what's important.
Yeah.
And so, because sometimes you get on this kid for not doing this or not doing that, and then you have to stop, especially when it's over, and you think, well, how's that kid going to feel when he goes home tonight?
Yeah.
Coach just got on him real hard at practice, and how would I have felt if that would have been me?
Yeah.
And so you end up talking with those kids and continuing to develop relationships with them to where when you do have to do that, they know you don't dislike them.
That's right.
That you're just trying to get the best out of them, And so I think that's what, coaching is not, like I said before, it's not an X and O thing. You got to develop relationships with them kids.
Yeah.
And if you do that, guess what'll happen? They'll play harder for you.
They will play harder for you.
Play harder for you. And and it's not for that same reason, but only that reason. But you just want to.
It's a good payoff, though.
Yeah. Oh, it is, no doubt. Yeah, a whole lot better winning.
Yeah. It's like you're like me. We're kind of people, we hate losing when we like winning.
That's right.
I really think it's pretty cool. I watched to some degree. It might have always been true. I don't know, but some of the coaches I had growing up, they all influence you one way or another, whether they know it or not. I feel like nowadays there's this opportunity maybe for even a more interpersonal relationship between coaches and players, and I feel like the generation, like your generation of coaches, really impact kids in a different way because of your willingness to there's still a separation between I'm the coach and you're the player,
right?
But the relationship that you built, and I've watched it from my perspective. And your kids play hard for you, man. They play hard for you, and they respond to you. But it's because it's real. It's real. And again, somebody that's known you since I was 10 years old and watched your career. But, man, what you are is real. And I appreciate that more than you will ever know.
Well, Mike, that means a lot to me. And honestly, if you are passionate about what you do, it's funny you say I'm riding up here today, and I'm thinking of my mind. When I ride in the car, my mind goes a million miles an hour, and I'm thinking about things. But I was thinking about that very same thing when we were coming up. Every day I go to practice, I have butterflies.
Yeah.
Before practice even starts.
That's cool.
And because I know when we're out there just getting ready to start team warm-ups, if my attitude's not right, the kid's attitude's not going right. And if the kid's attitude's not right, it's going to trickle down to Thursday and Friday.
Yeah.
So I have to be on my A game.
Yeah.
Even though I might have had a bad day at home, a bad night at home the night before, or I had a bad day at school, I gotta put all that aside and get my mind and my attitude right with them kids. So I have to, when I'm going down on the practice field, I got to make sure everything's right with our scripts and everything, and all that stuff's got to be right. But when I go out there and I talk to them, I always start practice with a little mini 30-second talk.
Yeah.
Kind of a pump up session, because I want them their attitudes to be where mine is. Okay, now it's time to focus.
Yeah.
All right, so we got 2.5 hours on this field right now. What are we going to do with it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2.5 hours of my time when I don't have a bill to pay, when I don't have a single problem.
Right.
I mean, it's because I'm so tunnel visioned into what I'm doing for that 2.5 hours that everything else, it's really my relaxation time.
That's cool.
Because I don't have any stresses during that time except what I'm doing on that field. And I want those kids to come out every day with that same attitude, and and if they do, they see my passion, then it'll trickle down.
Follow that.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I used to hang a sign in every coach's locker. We don't have lockers at North Lincoln now. We got 12 by 12 cubby holes, which is a whole other story. But when we did have lockers at other places, I would hang a sign in every coach's locker that said, "If I don't, they won't."
Right.
Okay. And so I want every one of my coaches to know when they go on that field, if they're not prepared and their mind's not prepared, then their players are going to just reflect it. That's right. So
I believe too, just like churches because I believe this is absolutely 1,000% true with churches. The churches generally take on the personality of their pastor at some point. And I think football teams take on the personality of their leader, and you being the leader. And so I know we're going to wind this thing down because I know, first off, it's time to. But anyway, but I also want to just give you one chance to maybe with some final parting words. But I Oh, you know, for me personally, I got it. I mean, oftentimes when we finish a phone conversation, I say, "I love you, brother," and he'll say, "I love you back," you know, whatever. And I just have appreciated this guy. When I tell you, I'm glad you're in Lincoln County, even though we ain't beat you in a couple of years. I'm still
That still happens. It stays that way.
I hope it don't, but I'm pulling for you because of the man that you are, and I love to see you successful because of the man that you are. And I want y'all to know this guy's been consistently that since I met him 35 years ago, and I consider you a friend for life, and I appreciate you being here today.
Well, Mike, the feeling's mutual. You know that.
Yeah.
And it goes all the way back to, you know, when you and I used to work out at Colonial Village together. You're stronger than I was then, still are now.
Probably.
So you know, that's one thing I could never whip you at. You know? But yeah, I'm glad that we got a relationship together, and it's just like the coaches in Lincoln County. You know, we all get along together.
Yeah.
You know, we fight like crazy on Fridays.
They got respect for you.
That's right. And but then when we're off the field, we're talking with one another. We're communicating. It's just that's the way it ought to be.
Yeah.
You know, compete when you're competing against each other, and when it's all over, you're all doing it for the same reasons.
That's right.
You know.
That's right.
So I do appreciate this. This has been fun.
We'll do it again then.
Yeah, we'll do it.
We'll think of some other reason to get together.
Okay.
Every time I think one final thing. Every time I think of that Colonial Village, he was living in Colonial Village with Darren.
Yeah.
Conger. They had an apartment over there, and we worked out together every night. And I was wanting you to stay because I remember you had this boxer that I loved. It was a beautiful dog. You still got boxers. And as long as him and Darren stayed in that apartment, they weren't going to let him keep that dog. And he's about to give me that dog one time. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I do. I sure do.
He's about to give me that dog. And I was like, man, I hope he and Darren stay in that apartment because I love that dog. But anyway, I think right after that you met your wife and lived happily ever after. But anyway, again, thank you, brother. I appreciate
it, man.
you.
All right.
I love you for life.
Love you like a brother.
I can't. I'm pulling for you. So
Cool.
keep it at it, brother.
We'll do it.
All right,
We'll do
see
it,
you, man.
Thanks.
Bye.
Yeah.